All right. Greetings and welcome to Pop's Collection, where we dissect and reflect on a movie or TV show from my Pop's Collection. I'm Ron Tweedy, joining me as Pops, and today we're going to continue our exploration of the Dark Knight trilogy by talking about The Dark Knight. I'm Ron Tweedy, and Pops, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing much better, thank you. Welcome, everyone. So glad you're joining us today.
Yes.
And whatever you're doing, we hope that you enjoy this special episode about The Dark Knight, which, believe it or not, was the first live action Batman movie that didn't have Batman in the name.
Yes. Yeah. Now that I think about it, that is exactly right.
It is. And it was the first Batman movie to have a profit of over $1 billion.
Yes. It is. Yeah, it's very interesting. And just looking at the timeline of when this was released 2 months after Iron Man. So, I mean, back to back, you get these two amazing films, and it's to me, it kind of boggles the mind how within the same 8 to 12 week period, you get those two huge blockbuster movies.
Right, and I'm not really positive. As you know, Heath Ledger played the Joker in this, and
Yes.
He tragically overdosed on drugs. And I don't know if that had any significance to the box office. Maybe. I mean, it didn't come out till 6 months after his death. So, I mean, there was plenty of time for people to grieve about it. And,
Sure.
I do have to say, though, that it was definitely a great performance. He did actually get an Oscar for supporting actor posthumously.
Right.
For his performance, which I thought was incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't really want to go, like you said, or we shouldn't really go too much over it piece by piece, because it is, like you said, a rather long movie.
Yeah.
But I did wanted to note that it was based, you remember the first movie was somewhat based on The Long Halloween.
Yes.
They actually used part of The Long Halloween to get Harvey Dent's story.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah.
That's what they used that for. Now, also, they took the name, The Dark Knight, from Batman #1.
Right.
Which was not written by Bob Kane, but written by Bill Finger.
Right.
He was the one that coined that phrase, Dark Knight, which we know later that he originally had no credit for Batman until later on. Yeah. So in this movie, it was all about Bob Kane.
Yes, that's right.
Just like most of the other ones. But this is somewhat of a significant movie. The fact that actually last year in 2020, the U.S., the National Library of Congress chose to put this in the U.S. National Film Registry, this movie.
Yeah.
Claiming for being culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant in the time. So,
but well deserved too. I mean, I don't want to spoil the my actual rating of the film, but I believe this is the best Batman movie, despite the fact that it has the worst Batman, which is really strange.
Yes, and you know what? I was thinking about that as we shared last time, that Christian Bale just doesn't do it as Batman. He is so great. He's a real good Bruce Wayne. He's just like so suave and debonair.
Yeah.
And I was trying to think about that, and I thought, could it have also been the Batman costume? because it does look a little funky too.
Yeah, the cowl does. I would agree with that. Yeah, it does. It fits him kind of weird. Like it almost makes his face look more rounder, a little fatter, not as like sleek and chiseled
Right,
as
right, and that is what the Batman
yeah,
persona or image is the chiseled,
yeah,
the chin, the square chin,
yeah,
and it just does not go that way. And I was trying, when I was looking at it, I actually had to watch it twice because
right.
it was just really that good. You know, I said, oh man, this, I just really would like to see that. What made me love it so much? And there was just so many things.
Yeah.
It kind of, if you think about it, we now have Falcone is in Arkham.
Yep.
So we now have, we get to meet Sal Maroni
Maroni. Yep.
and also Gamble
Hmm.
and the Chechnyan mob.
Yep.
We still get Scarecrow
Hmm. Yep.
and the Joker.
Yeah.
But then you got this load of good guys,
Yeah.
Batman, Harvey Dent, Rachel, Fox, Gordon, Alfred, all these people that are working together. And I don't know, time frame wise, this movie was 3 years after the first one, after
Yes.
Batman Begins.
That's right.
And I couldn't quite tell if the story itself was 3 years later. I
Yeah.
didn't really, it didn't really portray a timeline, I don't think.
No.
So all I know is that it seemed to me as if the good guys were working together, but the bad guys still had one up on them.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think I yeah, I'd say 3 years is probably around the same amount of time that's passed between that because you have to get Rachel getting over Bruce Wayne and then having a new relationship with the new DA, Harvey Dent. You have the assumption of power or the power vacuum that was left by what's his name?
Falcone.
Falcone, yeah. I was going to say Maroni, but that's the new guy. And then he's called the Roman in the comic in the long Halloween or whatever it is. Yeah.
Right. Correct. Yes. Yes. But he has constantly been, it's been Maroni and Falcone.
Yeah.
Were constantly at odds.
Yeah.
As the two main mob bosses that Batman fights from time to time.
Yeah.
But I thought that it was kind of interesting the way they chose to start the movie.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? We had the Joker. Now, here we go. Did you see that at the very beginning?
Oh, yeah. I heard him say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which comes later in the movie. So it was like, okay,
yeah.
We're going to get started here. That actually, I thought, totally set the tone for the Joker's character.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Having all of those guys in clown masks.
Mm-hmm.
And as each one does his job, he gets knocked off.
Yep.
And I thought, wow, okay, this is cool. And then finally we get the Joker and the guy's like, oh, I suppose you were supposed to kill me. And he goes, no, I was to kill the bus driver. Right. What?
Yeah.
And then the bus kills him. So
yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, it goes to show you that the portrayal of the Joker in this film is probably like 180 degrees different than Jack Nicholson's portrayal in the '89 Batman. And I think both of them have their merits. I don't think one is necessarily better than the other, but I think this take on the Joker is, it's like he is at the same time a genius, but also this complete agent of chaos. And, playing those two things against each other is fascinating. and how, and being able to try to get a read on the Joker, you can't do, because he's completely inconsistent and chaotic, and at the same time the plans that he carries out are extremely intricate and complex. So it's like, yeah, it's very interesting.
Well, Heath Ledger actually he secluded himself in an apartment for like 2 months,
Yeah.
just to try to figure out how he's going to portray the part. And
Right.
he actually Nolan gave him a copy of The Killing Joke,
Yeah.
and he turned out he tried to read it, but he chose to like step back because he wanted his portrayal to kind of be his own portrayal,
Hmm.
which it was almost pretty right on to The Killing Joke, the way I saw it,
Yeah.
but it was definitely good. I enjoyed it immensely. And we also got an opportunity to see how Batman was kind of willing to step outside the box too in this movie, as opposed to before, as we see later on with the way he took the sonar,
Okay. Yeah.
right, and did things that really were kind of questionable,
Hmm.
almost Big Brother-ish, I would say.
Oh yeah.
Definitely. And I forgot to mention, we also had some other good guys
Okay.
who were Batmen,
Oh yeah, that's right.
only not real Batman, according to Scarecrow.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That was interesting, and I think that is something that you would think about. If there was a mass vigilante that was doing good in the city, he would certainly inspire others to try to do the same thing, which is interesting. And you could see how poorly that ends up happening for them.
Right. Well, see, that's the thing that I think that Bruce Wayne did want to inspire others.
Agreed.
But like you said, I think it took a turn in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Which is why I believe that he was pushing for Harvey
Absolutely.
to be the good guy.
Right.
And of course, this did nothing but piss off the Joker
Yeah.
even more,
Yeah.
because like you said, his portrayal, he showed himself to be so intelligent
Yeah.
in every move that he made, and he like knew ahead of time, that the accountant was not going to be safe in China.
Right.
He knew that, hey, this guy's going to sing, so just this whole movie, just every part of it, there were so many wow moments.
Hmm.
When don't you think, where
Yeah.
you'd be like, wow, I didn't see that coming, or I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly that, and I think that the trope of the villain allowing himself to get captured so he can complete his master plan, I think this is the first one I think of seeing it happen. But obviously, Loki does the exact same thing in the Avengers, which was 4 years
Yes.
later, and it's happened in Skyfall with the bad guy there. So I mean, it's a trope that now, but I think it was done here first, or at least something that was
Oh, I
significant.
believe so. I believe you're right. Probably here first, or I'm sure that it has been thought of, but maybe not done as well
Right.
in earlier films,
Yeah.
because not having the ability to do what they did. Another thing, too, I noticed with this film that I liked a lot was that there were a lot of real stunts,
Oh yeah.
and not. I actually saw a long time ago how they did the stunt with the semi.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was a for real stunt and not a CG thing.
That's cool. Yeah, and I know
Yeah.
a lot of the explosions. I was like, that's definitely it's at the least a very convincing model that they did. It was a practical effect. It was not CG.
Right. Well, the semi was a full-size semi
Right.
that they did with that. And it was really interesting how I think they had 2 or 3, but they were hoping to get it on the first one because it took days to get it set up for that.
Yeah, I believe it.
Because they had a cannon with a pump with a shaft that actually they pushed through the floor in order to make the trailer launch the trailer.
Yeah.
And wow.
Yeah.
And to do it on one shot was great.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool, I thought. That was neat. Also, Joker's thought that humanity would just be selfish and think about itself. He so felt that he could make Harvey the bad guy.
Yeah.
And that was his whole plan, was to make Gotham just into a more chaotic place and not have any hope.
Yeah.
And, Bruce kind of had a selfish reason for all that.
Yeah.
Because he wanted Harvey to be the good guy so he wouldn't have to be Batman anymore.
Right. Yeah.
And hopefully he could get back with Rachel.
Right, exactly. That was his motivation. And then the ironic thing is that, he's forced to choose between saving her or saving the person that would help him to stop becoming Batman. And he chooses her, but the Joker didn't tell him the right place to go. And I thought that was, like you said, it was very subversive the way you were expectations were going to go, which is really cool.
Right. And so that tells me that Joker knew who Batman was.
Mm-hmm.
And him, because we noticed in the movie, people are going to die unless Batman reveals who he is.
Right.
And then when they finally get somebody to go on TV and say he's going to reveal who Batman is, it's like, hey, that was not my idea. So now we're going to do something different.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody doesn't kill this guy before he tells, I'm going to blow up a hospital.
Yeah.
So
I think it goes through the story trope, which, I think has been explored numerous times now, is that the Joker without the Batman is nothing, and kind of vice versa. They need each other. I think that was the subplot to the Lego Batman movie, if I remember correctly. Just the fact that they kind of need each other in order to actually, exist. And so I think that's the reason why the Joker did what he did, is because he knows he needs Batman in order to actually, accomplish what he wants.
The second Lego Batman movie.
Second Lego Batman movie. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
The theatrical one. That's what I'm talking about. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Because there were 2 Lego Batman movies.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, that's true.
Yeah.
One needs the other. It's the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
Or whatever you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this was an interesting take on the Joker.
Yeah.
And I actually, for me, the most interesting things were the different stories.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you how I got this smile?
Yeah.
And we got all this like sinister, scary thoughts with him and the knife,
Yeah. With conflicting information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But you thought, oh, is he going to cut this guy's lip?
Right.
Is he going to cut her lip? Because he did it to Rachel too.
Yep.
And different stories though, every time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where'd he come up with all that?
It is fascinating that, and I do think that it gets taken to the next level in the Joker film with Joaquin Phoenix. I I think that's just exactly where it goes. It just goes up to 11 at that point with that one. So
with the Joaquin Phoenix's version.
yeah, and that's a whole different story. What we, when the time comes for us to talk about that one, it's I think it does bring a little bit of I think a misstep in that film, but we'll talk about that later. The point here being is that because of the way the Joker is, you can never tell when he is telling the truth or lying, or what is real and what's not real with the Joker. And I think that's that's kind of what the idea behind his stories that he tells.
Well, that, and not only that, we find out that once we get he gets captured,
Yeah.
or brings himself to capture, no labels in his clothes, no fingerprints anywhere, no DNA, nothing that can say who he is.
Right.
He's a total enigma.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that is consistent with the comics. There's not really a official origin story for the Joker.
No, there's probably quite a few different origin stories that different people have thought, hey, this is how I think the Joker came to be. But right. There was a creator of the Joker. I'm thinking it was in 1940 when he was originally created.
Yeah.
But there again, too, I don't know that there was an origin story back then, that he just was, he was just a criminal.
Yeah, the first Joker story, it was basically him mysteriously making predictions on the radio that he was going to kill these people, and then they ended up dying. And so it was just him kind of doing things, and it was just trying to figure out what it was. And it just turned out he was being extra sneaky. And, of course, Batman being the greatest detective in the world, he figures it out eventually. So
yes, he does. Well, he is the greatest detective. Not necessarily Christian Bale, but no, but he did come up with some interesting things. I did like the sonar part when he was trying to rescue the hostages.
Yeah.
And again, the Joker, great things, puts the hostages in the clown masks and ties the guns to them with duct tape, and duct tapes their mouth,
Right.
And all the bad guys are the hostages.
Right.
What a twist that is.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it forces Batman to have to fight the police.
Yeah, the SWAT team. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, wow. And then it brings me to Two-Face.
Yep.
What do you think about the makeup with that?
I thought it was good. I mean, my first real exposure to Two-Face as a villain was Batman the Animated Series. So of course it's very outrageous in that one. So and then seeing Tommy Lee Jones's portrayal in the Joel Schumacher Batman Forever. That's kind of what so obviously this one is way more realistic, and Aaron Eckhart's portrayal of him was I think phenomenal.
Oh yes, he did an excellent job, not only of Dent, but when he did play the Two-Face role, he did it perfectly.
Yeah, agreed.
And Batman winds up taking all the bad for him, though.
Yeah.
So, what do you think was the main point in this movie for you?
I think it really has to do. So there's two things going on. I think that you talked about the last part of it is definitely something, but I think the scene in the restaurant with Bruce and his prima ballerina girlfriend and Rachel and Harvey, I think that was the most interesting thing they're talking about. I mean, they talk about how in the Roman times, they when the city was in crisis, they appointed a dictator, in order to kind of pull them out of the fire. And then afterwards he would relinquish power. And the observation was made that, that did work a couple of different times, but the last time it didn't work so well with Julius Caesar. But it's interesting that Harvey kind of sees himself as that figure to kind of come in, and also at the same time, Bruce Wayne also sees him as that figure. So
much so that he's going to throw him a fundraiser.
That, and at the same time, he is also, as Batman, going to work with him and Gordon in order to hit all of the mob bosses at the same time, so they can, get them off the streets, which I thought was interesting, because you had that one scene in the court where you had 500 people pleading at the exact same time.
Yes, not guilty.
Yeah.
Right, but of course we know that Joker took care of all that.
Yeah.
And then and that brought us to our later scene.
Yeah.
On the ferries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you had all of them people stuck on the ferries.
Yeah.
And here you had a boat full of innocent people and a boat full of criminals.
Yeah, presumably.
And giving them both, presumably, right, but giving them both the options of, hey, if you want to live, you got to blow up the other people.
Yep.
And of course, we know how that worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. And again, he makes a great Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
He really does that well, but the Batman party just...
It's comical.
It is.
Not in a good way, yeah.
No, but still, as bad as it was, it didn't really deter from the movie.
Right, which is interesting. For me, I really, and I understand what they're trying to do there. The fact is they want to make his voice sound differently, because obviously he's interacting with Gordon and Dent as Bruce Wayne. So they would, if he just used his normal voice, obviously it would kind of give away his identity. I understand that. There's got to be a better way to do that. And I think that the best way to do it was when Ben Affleck did it in the DCEU movies, where they gave him kind of a voice modulator, which I thought was perfect. That's what they should have done.
Right, which that was taken directly from Arrow, because in Arrow he uses a voice modulator.
Does he? I know the Flash does something with his vocal cords, with his powers or whatever, to make him sound different.
Yes, but with Arrow it was definitely a voice modulator.
Okay.
You have failed this city. Yeah, but I know. I love that. I totally missed that one's over with, but
yeah,
it was a great story, definitely.
Yeah.
So anyways, we got this issue when they were trying to hit all the banks to get everybody.
Yeah.
And all the money was gone.
Right.
So then you had Gordon telling Harvey it's a leak in his department, and Harvey saying, no, it's a leak in your department because of your people. And I guess it could be either one, right?
Or both,
right?
In the comic, in the Long Halloween, it was a leak in Harvey's department. It was one of the guys that worked with him directly. In this one, though, I think the two cops that are compromised, Wirtz and Ramirez, they're the ones who were responsible for Rachel and Dent getting captured by the Joker. So I'm thinking the actual leak in this film was through GCPD.
Yes. Okay. Now, did you hear them calling MCU in this movie?
Yeah. I don't know exactly what the Metropolitan Crime Unit, maybe. I don't know.
Well, Gordon had his own crime unit, so that's what I'm thinking it is too. But I thought, how weird that we have to mention the MCU just before Iron Man,
That is kind of funny.
Yeah, so I thought, Okay, I guess you could give the MCU some credit, but
Yeah.
yes, that was interesting. Uh, I thought um, the way that they attempted to show uh, the people on the ferries,
Yeah.
how they, what their reaction was, and the time that they spent trying to see, I think it was done in a way that you thought that somebody was going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
either way. And the guy that I really thought was going to do it in the end,
Right.
he didn't.
Again, yeah, the subverting of the expectations.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
definitely. But that's where we got again. And here we go. And then nothing happens.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
So
he was going to do it either way, I think, right?
yeah, yeah. If it weren't for Batman interfering at the very last minute, I think he probably was going to blow both of them up. I think it's very, you know, the Joker assumed that Batman would be tied up with the SWAT team trying to save the hostages, but obviously he was able to get around that, and I think that's what the big difference is.
Yes. And because we did have at this time now where Lucius is thinking he doesn't want to have any part of
Yeah,
this anymore.
yeah, which is really interesting that from an ethical standpoint that he believes that Bruce crossed the line when it came to surveillance, which there's some real world implications from that. I mean, we've gotten uh, we know now there are unethical people spying on us as well now, which I think is kind of, I don't know if it was well known. No, it wouldn't have been well known because that was before smartphones. So that is a very interesting. I mean, the Patriot Act did do illegal wiretapping as well, but it's so much more crazier now. So
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, as you know, your mom and I have been under quarantine
mm-hmm.
for the COVID. Uh, and I told you that we had to place it. We placed an order with Walmart
Yeah,
based on our needs, and we
right,
were able to drive, still being quarantined without having to lower our windows.
right,
Just pop the trunk, and so there's no
right.
possible any kind of contamination. But what I thought was interesting was that as I went on that site,
Mm-hmm.
they had my grocery purchases for the past 3 months.
Hmm.
They knew exactly what I bought every time I went to the Walmart.
Interesting.
Yes, it was right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, this week you bought a 48 pack of coffee and you bought this and bought this, you bought this milk. They already had it there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I basically could have just looked on that list and said, okay, add one of these to the cart or what
Right,
have you. But
right.
I did not find that out until after I placed the order.
Yeah.
But I thought, like, wow, they know. I had no idea that they knew everything that I bought. They even knew the candles that your mother buys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, really?
Well, I mean, it's all tied. If you pay with the same card every time, that's how they track it.
Yes, but still, do you think of that when you go and use your card somewhere that somebody knows exactly what you're purchasing?
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say us old farts weren't.
Yeah.
At least this old fart wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but I am now,
Yeah.
So if they knew that then, and like you said, they probably know what our TV shows we watch, most likely, what our likes and dislikes are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they also get that from our emails too.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's not the same as what we thought it was before.
Mm.
Wow. Well, anything else you want to delve into?
Did you have anything else on your notes that you wanted to?
Well, I think I've covered just about everything that I can remember.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, pretty much. I think I did. I think I covered just about everything.
All right. So let's talk
What
about the
about
end.
you?
Yeah, let's talk about the ending. So,
All right.
so what happens obviously is that, Harvey Dent's descent into madness causes him to go on a rampage to get revenge on the people who feels betrayed him. And so,
Which they did betray him.
yes, absolutely. At the same time, he throughout the film has become the symbol of hope, of cleaning up Gotham. I believe in Harvey Dent. That's was his slogan, right?
Yes.
And so, in order to maintain that symbol, they have to cover up his misdeeds at the very end, and they pin it on Batman. So, it's almost like a substitutionary atonement type of thing, that all of the sins of Harvey Dent is transferred onto Batman, and then Batman's virtue gets transferred back over to Harvey Dent, and then in his death, and we'll see in the next film that much good comes of that sacrifice that Batman has to make now that he's going to be a wanted criminal.
Yes, I'm kind of interested in seeing that. Also, was a very good version. I
Yeah.
think more so than this one as far as the Batman part of it.
Yeah.
But as a matter of fact, yes, we'll get into that at that time. But this was kind of interesting because you had Gordon's son,
Yes.
who still believes in Batman. And
And
you
so, and
saw
so does
that.
Gordon, for that matter. He still believes in him as well. But as he says to his son, we have to chase him now. That's what we have to do.
Right. He has to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
And his son is like, well, he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he knows that.
Yeah.
But he knows that he has to be that way for a reason.
Yeah. And to me, it seems like I understand why they wanted to do it, but in reality, I don't think, like, to me, it's like, I feel like sometimes people, they put or they portray people or leaders in just a kind of like a superhero, rose-colored glasses type of thing, and they don't show who that person was, warts and all. For instance, when it comes to like George Washington or something like that, sure, he was a great leader, one of the fathers of our country. He also did some pretty sketchy things as well when it comes to, some of his business with landowning and stuff like that. Someone like Martin Luther, who, started the Protestant Reformation, also towards the end of his life had some very disparaging things to say about the Jews, things like that. So it's like, you have to take these people and, show them for the flawed characters that they are, because, sooner or later, the truth is going to win out, and it's going to come out. And so if you make these people into something that they're not, it's going to, I think, make things a lot worse in the long run, which I think what we'll see is the fruit of that in the middle of the next film, which we'll see, So I think, I understand why they did, what they felt was the right thing to do by making Harvey Dent's the end of Harvey Dent being a more noble thing. But, that doesn't really work in the long run, which we'll see.
Right. Well, see, that's the thing. Like you said, if we try not to put our heroes on pedestals,
Right.
if we can, right. And what I think the MCU tries to do is to show the flaws
Yeah.
of our heroes,
Mm-hmm.
So that we don't. There are, however, people that even when you show them the flaws, they choose not to look at the flaws.
Yeah.
If we had somebody that we were rooting for on in a sports team or something, and we find out that that person uh, cheats, or he was caught cheating,
Yeah.
and yet that actually, I think they were doing that with the Houston Astros baseball team.
Mm.
There are people that still root for them, even though there are still members of that cheating squad on the team.
Yeah.
So they're willing to look past that, but we look at our heroes and see that, hey, their flaws, they have flaws, so they're really no better than any of us. They're human just like us.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a matter of overlooking per se. I think it's just a matter of just accepting that. So, for instance, we're commanded to honor our fathers and mothers. Obviously, they're going to be flawed. So, there's still a way of honoring somebody despite their flaws.
That's
Not,
true.
not minimizing it, but at the same time, still being able to honor them. Then I think that's really the lesson there, is that we shouldn't be painting over people's shortcomings, but at the same time, we could still honor them with their shortcomings and all, warts and all.
Right. And I guess we could show forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Would be another thing that would be an acceptable
where it's
way
appropriate.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, where it is appropriate, let's say that.
Yeah.
So now we're chasing down the Batman.
Yeah.
And he taking the axe, he can't break the blade the first time. He can't break the glass the first time.
Yeah.
I was like, what? What is he hitting?
Yeah. Right.
But he does eventually destroy it. So it does set up for the next movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
In fact, at the very end, Isaac was asking me, hey, is there a Dark Knight 2? And I said, yeah, sort of.
Sort of, yes. As a matter of fact, when the next one comes out, I think it's another 2 years. I think 2010 or 2011.
Yeah.
I'm not positive.
Yeah.
But we also at the same time got the animated Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and Part 2.
Okay.
In between that, which kind of flows with that third movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have a lot to say when we get to the third movie, because I was so hoping for some different kind of sequels that we never got. So
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Well, at the end,
okay,
it kind of makes you think the different things. But
yeah, I
was like, oh man, really? Okay, that would be great. No, bummed me out.
Yeah. All right.
Anyways, anything else?
Well, let's wrap it up here. Let's not get into the next movie because we got a week till before we look at that one.
Okay, sounds like a plan to me.
All
right. So, rating on this movie.
Yeah.
I'm actually, I know you might find this weird, but I'm going to give it a 10.
Yeah.
Even though I hate Batman in this.
I have to agree. It has to be a 10 for me as well. I mean, this is one of the greatest movies, ever. And like I said, it's despite the worst Batman, which is crazy to me. I mean, but everything else about this movie is perfect. I mean, everything. It's like, you got the score by Hans Zimmer. You've got Christopher Nolan's direction. You've got the story by Goyer. I mean, just everything comes together. And you have the casting, which is, which
perfectly flows through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Everybody that plays their part, Maroni is the perfect Maroni.
Yeah. Well, I will say that they did, obviously they did recast Rachel as Maggie Gyllenhaal as opposed to Katie Holmes. But, even, Maggie Gyllenhaal did a great job, I think.
That's true. But yes, so good. Well, we're in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
On a DC movie, no less.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's probably, I'm going to guess that this one of your top DC movies.
Yeah, I'd have to say so, and definitely, this is, yeah. I think that this definitely is probably one of the best DC movies of all time, and it probably will stay that way. It's still up there, I think, in my opinion.
Well, like I said, 2020.
Yeah.
National Library of Congress,
Mm-hmm.
decided that it was, significant.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
it'll be in the library forever.
Yeah. All right, good deal. So next week we will wrap up the Dark Knight trilogy with The Dark Knight Rises, and that's it. Any final parting thoughts?
Just thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And we do really appreciate any comments that you were to pass along.
Yep.
We do read them, and we are very thankful for them and grateful. Thank you
Yep.
very much.
Yep. Goodbye. God bless. And we will see you next week.
Yes. And tell your friends. Bye.